Thank you very much. I'm so happy for me to be here.
Well, we are happy to be here. You're so iconic. I cannot even believe. I remember when I was geeking out as a small kid, seeing somebody on the screen that is geeky like me. I loved it.
Oh.
But before we jump into it, so thrilled to have you here. It's not your first time in Germany, isn't it?
No, it's been many years since I've been back in Germany, though. The two places I've been in Germany before were Düsseldorf and Munich, but I've never been to Essen. This is my first time in Essen, so this is fun.
Yeah, it is a very cute little city.
Yeah.
I don't know if you will have time to go and explore, but it has a lot of beautiful parks. It is a really nice city. I'm not from here, so I'm very enjoying the town. Guys, do you love Essen? No, there was like somebody, no, Essen, no, not my thing. And so yeah, your role as Lex, it was just so, I could say groundbreaking in a bit, because we haven't seen, let's just say, a representation of a young girl that is confident, not like a damsel in distress, but like and cool with computers, and then we haven't seen that in movies, in such a big productions. So do you think that that experience shaped you as an adult woman and your experience in your career?
That's such an interesting topic to me. One of the things that I did to prepare for the movie Jurassic Park was to read the book Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. And it was such a great novel, just seeing how he wove the characters together in the story. But I was struck by the fact that the characters were reversed from the way that Steven wanted to make them in the movie. The girl was younger, and the boy was older, and the girl, Lex, in the book was really quite irritating and very annoying. She was just always in everybody's way and was getting into trouble, and she literally couldn't contribute anything to the situation. so I was excited when I read the script, and I saw, okay, so Steven wanted to change the Lex character to be much more empowered, much more tech-wise and knowledgeable about computers, and be able to do things that might be helpful in any given situations in the movie. So I was excited to play this empowered female character, and I was happy that Steven wanted to give me all these fun things to play as a 12-year-old. So I was only 12 when I filmed that. But I think you brought up a good point that not very many young female characters in that time, around the early 1990s, were very interesting and broad, with all these different skills, and especially knowledge of technology and computers and that type of thing. And so I was excited to be able to play a character that had those aspects. And interestingly, I think it did inspire me to play that kind of character, because I grew to love so many different things. I was already had a great love of learning by the time I played Lex, but during the movie I started getting interested in dinosaurs and chatting with Jack Horner, who was actually on the set. He was the paleontologist that, you probably heard of Jack Horner because Alan Grant's character was based on Jack Horner, the real paleontologist. And so I would hang out with Jack on the set, and he would teach me about all sorts of things about dinosaurs. And after the movie, I ended up going to Montana with him on a dinosaur day to look for bones.
So exciting. That's so exciting. Did you find any?
I have to be honest, I did. I found a velociraptor forearm, and Jack Horner let me take it home and put it in my little collection of things. It's amazing.
You have a piece of dinosaur.
Yes. And one of my favorite dinosaurs to boot, the velociraptor. So that was fun.
So yeah, that's definitely a big influence, huh? But such an amazing adventure for such a young person, and you were not alone in that. You were there with Joe Mazzello, and I think I overheard that you recently guys reunited. Did you meet recently?
Yes, it had been so many years since I'd seen Joe Mazzello, and we actually met up, and our reuniting was on camera. It was live, so it was so much fun just to chat with him and literally reminisce with him. We were looking at a scene that we were in the kitchen with the raptors and just watching it again together after so many years. Because I don't watch the movie all the time. That would be so strange. Put Jurassic Park on all the time. But so we got to reminisce and just talk about our memories and laugh, and it was just amazing to be back in the same room after all this time.
It's such a beautiful way to connect to each other. For purpose of this our talk, I did some research and I went online. You can actually see interviews with you guys when you were kids, and I think it was like Today Show. And you guys are so professional, so composed, like very professionally, answering all of the interviewers' questions. So cute. And I think Joe was like 10 or 11 then.
He was around 10 years old during the interviews, and I was around 13 during those interviews.
Was that weird, just going with all those adults and answering all those questions? Did you get schooled before, like how you have to answer those questions?
Yeah, it was very weird to be put into a situation like that where you're at a press junket. And the weirdest part about it was that every 5 minutes there'd be a new press representative to come in the room, but they would ask you all the same questions as the previous representative. And this went on from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. So by the end of the day, sometimes I would start just kind of spacing out and staring off and just my mom was there and said, I think Ariana needs to take a break.
It's not a fun thing to do for kids.
Right, no, not exactly. Making the movie was more fun than the press junket.
But there's one moment in one of the interviews that Joe is so cool. So the interviewer is asking, so how was working with Steven Spielberg? And he was like, he was so organized. And that was his answer.
Was that Joe's answer?
That was Joe's answer. It's like, you're a 10-year-old, how do you know that? How do you know that?
Joe was so funny because I remember his parents were trying to tell him what to say and what not to say, because some of these interviews were live. And or at least they were recorded, and you never knew which lines they would take and use. And so one time, I saw him getting interviewed, and he's only 10 years old, and he said to the interviewer, my parents told me not to say that I live on so-and-so street. And I was like, oh my God,
no! Aw. Okay, so not always he was composed and professional.
Right, so that was the one time.
But is it true? Was working with Steven Spielberg so organized as just?
Well, but Steven was organized. He had all of his ducks lined up. I mean, he knew what he was going to film each day. He had the storyboards drawn out on the wall, and he was so put together that he could just feel free to change dialogue anytime he wanted, or change how we were going to do the scene right before filming. He would just say, okay, we're going to do the scene differently now. Why don't you start over here, and then we're going to say something else, and we would just play around with it.
So there was room for improvising and for putting in. Do you remember if you changed any lines, or did you have any input in any of the scenes?
I originated something that was interesting. When there was a scene where I was supposed to be manipulating the Unix system on the computer, they had a crew member hiding under the table, holding my arm, and for that scene, they had a crew member in the other room, come to think of it, and they were manipulating the screen from the other room, so that it looked like I was doing something with the mouse, but I wasn't really affecting the screen in front of me. So I said, can I try this? I want to try operating the Unix system myself. And they said, okay, well, we'll let you go ahead and take over. And I was able to do it, and it was really fun. It actually felt more realistic, and it felt more natural. That was the take they ended up choosing for the movie.
That's pretty cool, and it's really nice that you had that freedom as well, and you felt that it's okay also to express that, hey, wait, I wanna try something. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Steven was very open to me and Joe just expressing our desires, and if we had any ideas or we wanted to contribute something, we could brainstorm together, which was great. The other funny one that I put some input into was the Jell-O scene where I was holding that spoonful of Jell-O and shaking. That was the one where the crew was under the table, and he was holding my arm for me and shaking my arm for me. It looked so strange, I mean, really strange, and it felt weird, especially. So I thought, this doesn't feel very natural. I said, is it okay if I try shaking my hand myself? I'm going to try it out. And so I did, and it worked so much better.
Yeah. So my because it was because of the. Okay, I got it. Yeah. And of course, Jurassic Park is known by those amazing real life effects. So not CGI, but the mechanical dinosaurs and the mechanical special effects. Was there any moment that you were scared of them? Because you knew it's mechanical, that this is not a real dinosaur, but was there any moment that was like, oh shoot, this is scary?
I wasn't ever scared. No, I wasn't nervous about my safety. Because I think they were so put together on set, the dinosaurs were so well managed by Stan Winston and his crew that I wasn't ever worried that I'd be in danger. There was only one scene where there was more of a close brush with something when the T-Rex was crashing down on the Jeep, and the plexiglass was over the top of us, me and Joe, and the T-Rex ended up breaking one of its teeth off as it was crashing down on top of us. But I wasn't even nervous about that. I mean, I just felt safe. I just trusted the process and was having a good time, and it worked out great.
I think it worked out pretty nice, I think. Do you guys think that Jurassic Park turned out really nice? Yeah. There you go. By the way, I can see some hardcore fans with nice t-shirts there. If you guys have any questions, please go ahead to my lovely assistant Alina there, and she will help you to ask the question. She has the microphone, she has the power. So yeah. Oh, and I can see that there is the first question from the audience.
Hello, I was wondering who was your favorite actor from the Jurassic Park movie that you did? And if you could have chosen to be in another Jurassic Park or Jurassic World movie, which one would it have been?
Well, that is a very tough question. I mean, how can I narrow it down between the actors? They were all fantastic in their own right. I mean, it was an all-star cast. But maybe I could take a minute just to share how I enjoyed spending time with Richard Attenborough, the late Richard Attenborough. It was such a pleasure because on set, he was just grandfatherly, so much like his character was grandfatherly to me and Tim. And we would hang out in between scenes, and he would tell me stories, how he was busy directing, he was experiencing what it was like to be a director, and I thought that was just fascinating. And I'll never forget when we were going through the Hurricane Iniki during the filming of Jurassic, when we were on the island of Kauai. And Richard had such an incredible persona about him that Steven walked over to him in the midst of this huge storm, this hurricane. And Steven said, "Are you doing okay, Richard?" And Richard said, "Ah, my boy, I survived the Blitz." It was so funny. So anyway, I loved working with Richard. He was such a treat.
Thank you. And then if you would be a part of any of the other Jurassic World or Jurassic Park movies, which one would you like to be?
I don't know if I could choose a different one to be in, because it's all about the story, whether I feel like my character could fit into the story or not. It depends on the writers. I don't know. I couldn't choose which one.
It's a tough one. Thank you so much for your question. Next question, please.
Hi, my name is Tim, and I'm almost 12 years old. And my question is, did you have to do auditions, and how were they?
Could you repeat the question, please? Just a little bit closer to the microphone.
How were the auditions?
Auditions. How were the auditions?
Yeah, so the audition was very unusual. It was such a strange audition. I was not given any information before the audition. I was just told, this is a big Steven Spielberg movie, and they want you to come and audition to be put on videotape, screaming. And that's it. I didn't have any lines to prepare, nothing to memorize, so I just showed up at this audition and just screamed. That was it. And then later on, I was talking to Steven and found out that he was watching all the girls who were screaming that day in the audition. And he would watch one scream. Well, his wife happened to be asleep on the couch next to him, and he was watching one girl screaming, and then he finished, and he watched the next girl screaming, and then he got to my scream, and I started to scream. His wife, Kate, she leapt off the couch, freaking out, saying, "Oh my gosh, Steven, are the kids okay?" She went running into the hallway to see if the kids were okay.
Thank you so much. Is there another question? There you go. Oh! Oh, that's a special fan. Hello, love.
Hi, what was it like working with Sam Neill?
It was such a pleasure to work with Sam Neill. I mean, he's an incredible actor. He always was, and I loved working with him. And I think I had a funny story, though, about working with him, I have to tell you. So there's a scene where my character is supposed to grab onto his neck and hang over his back, and then we go down this cliff to get away from the T-Rex down the side of this wall. And, well, I somehow was taking my role very seriously that day, and I was just focused, and I was ready to keep that scene going all the way through. So I was screaming, "Timmy, Timmy," and I get on to Sam's back, and then apparently my mom was watching the screen, and all she saw was me screaming, and all of a sudden I leaned back, I pulled Sam over the edge of the wall, and we landed down below, and my mom was looking at wondering, did my daughter just die? And what was she just fell down? And Steven started laughing, and I was fine, because there was this big crash mattress down below the wall. But when I was not aware, apparently I was being too much of a method actress that day, but I was supposed to stop the scene when we got to the edge of the wall, but I just leaned back, and you should have seen Sam's face. You should have seen his eyes bugging out just before he went over.
That's a good one. Well, thank you so much for your question. That was really lovely. Jurassic Park, such a great fan base. And unfortunately, we have time for one last question. It's going to be from me. What do you think is the special magic or that special ingredient that make Jurassic Park having all of the fans 31 years later? Like, what is it? Did you manage to put your finger on it, or?
I don't think I could manage to put my finger on it. It's somewhat of a mystery. I think that Steven just had he's a genius, so he was able to create a story that captivated people all over the world, and just it kind of took your emotions on this roller coaster ride, and affected people from all different parts of their lives, from young to old, and I don't know how after 30 years it still strikes such a chord. It's still so precious to a lot of people. So I'm just thrilled that I was able to be there at the beginning of the whole Jurassic experience.
And I'm talking about my experience or my perspective. The new Jurassic movies, great, but it's not the same magic. It's just not. It was just such a thing that you watch it and you're just in that movie. I don't know. I tried to kind of figure out what it is. I just don't know. I think it's just the team. Like we saw you guys. I think everybody was working on it with like pure passion. It was not for money. It was not for gains. It was just for that, you know.
It was for the art. It was for the art of the movie making and telling that story. story. And they were kind of on the edge of technology when it came to the animatronics and the special effects. There was a mixture of CGI and animatronic models during the filming that had never been done before. It was all cutting edge at that time. And I was kind of spoiled because they created these models that were so elaborate. They had to build a set just to house the T-Rex.
They don't do it anymore like this, you know? They just don't do it anymore. Sound like my mom. But it's true. Ariana, unfortunately, I need to let you go, but I'm going to meet you here tomorrow, so we have much more topics to talk about. I really want to talk about your art and about your painting, because I'm very curious, and I bet that our audience is also. But for now, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure.
Guys,
I need to